Hi, everyone. Susan Gerbeck from Psychics Explain. It is September 23rd, 2025 at 9 o'clock at night in my time. And earlier today at noon, I put up a 5-minute video of a project that I've been working on called Operation Popcorn Ball. And it is about the psychic medium Stuart Michael. Now, I have done 2 videos on Stuart Michael, and they are on a playlist called Stuart Michael, should you want to go back and look at those. And this is somebody who's brought to my attention. He's got some huge shows in the UK. So somebody and a friend volunteered to go to his September 11th, 2025 show in Middlesbrough, and everything was recorded. What I wanted to see is, well, just generally what the show is like from beginning to end and what it feels like. I didn't want to look at just shorts that he had made. I didn't want to look at, edited clips or anything like that. I wanted it to be what it felt like to go to the entire show. So, this couple that went did exactly that. And they recorded from beginning to end, including the beginning where they were laughing about testing the audio. And it was really quite funny. So I will call the person who did the recording. What should I call that person? Um, gosh, I'm really tired right now, so I'm really thinking really well. The 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 I don't know. I'll think of something. Anyway, yeah. And so it's the reason why I said the time is because I have been working on this almost the entire day, other than the times that I have had to scratch the cat's head and feed them, and do a few dishes and eat. I have spent the entire day. The audio I received is about 2 hours long, but it took me 4 hours or so to transcribe it. It's so detailed. I tried to do a make it run with transcripts, subtitles. And let me show you what I got whenever I did that. Okay, here's what it looked like when it came out of the subtitle settings. Look at that. Chelsea, a Thyman, a Flindical. And here's where it would have showed all of these little clips, and it did. It went through and it showed all those clips. So I guess there's no setting for British, and then there's so many different dialects over there. You can see that took like 20 minutes for it to come up with that, and I did it again, and it still came up with that. So I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to transcribe this by hand." And I did. I did by hand. Look at these notes. All of this, all of this, all of this, all of that. Okay, to there. And this is just summing up. So, what happens? I think it's 32 pounds. I think that's what I was told. Let me pull up the email from our person. Call him the person. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the email from the person who said that they sent me all this, and they sent immediately afterwards an email with all their comments of what they thought. And then as they were recording, I heard lots of comments from that person. And oh my gosh, I think they said 32 pounds, which could be $150. I don't know. No, I think it's kind of close. So it's probably 40 American dollars or something like that. So during at the very end, our what do I call him? Our person, thank you. Our person was figuring it out that there's probably 20,000 pounds were made that night. And you got to rent the venue, which is big. And then they have people who are working the venue who are handling the microphones and the lights and um, the video feeds and all that kind of stuff. And when somebody's getting their reading, then there's a camera on the person and then it's projected up onto the screen behind the psychic. Or if the psychic's walking around the audience, it's filmed and then it goes up into the screen. That way people don't have to turn around and look at the person behind him and then their neck's killing them. They can just continue looking straight ahead and they can see what it is that's happening behind them. Very clever. I've seen Matt Fraser do that. In fact, this man reminds me so much of Matt Fraser. His appearance, his actions. He says all those little things like love and darling and sweetheart over and over. And can I give you a hug? And the humor and the clothing. It is Matt Fraser. Oh my gosh. So, all right. Like I said, I'm trying to find this thing. There's so many emails going back and forth. And I had it up there, but like I said, I'm tired, but I want to do this now. I do not want to put this off because I've been working on it all day long. And you know how I am. I don't script these things really well, but I appreciate you guys for staying with me anyway, because it's tough. There's so much work that's being done. And okay, yeah, I found the email now. And I'll tell you what he said. And I could hear the woman that was with our person, and she was just not buying it either. It was pretty bad. So what I found out about Stuart Michael, and I'll just go over this kind of quickly because you could look this up yourself. He has quite a following on TikTok. He's got 80,000 followers on TikTok. He's got 120,000 followers on Instagram and 16,000 followers on Facebook. So that's quite a bit. He has a manager, Jacob at HD Management. He is Stuart Michael is located in Peterborough, UK. Oh, the handler, the manager's name is Jacob Howe-Douglas. And you can find the website at stuartmichael.net. N-E-T. Well, so the couple went in on September 11th, 2025 to Middlesbrough. They said there was probably 400 people there. It did look really big, lots of people in the venue. And what he did is he did readings. No, they said about 500 people. So he did readings right off the bat. I mean, he comes in, there's a very little intro. He does his thing. Now he kind of gets off into the audience at some point, and then other times he stays up on the stage. And because I don't have video, I only have audio. I can look at what he's done in the past, other videos. And it looks like he is starting out with something very generic and then quickly going to some human being that is there in the audience who claims it. But it's so generic that I find it very hard to believe that there aren't multiple hands going up whenever it's coming out. And I'll show you what that is like. So what I did is I went on, and I can show you this if I can find the right Facebook page. I've only got like 100 pages open. In fact, I probably closed it. So what I found, let me see. What I found is that underneath the picture that is put up here, let me put the picture up of what it looks like. And it's pretty dang crowded. Like I said, 500 people is probably about right. So there it is. He does this at each event, and he really tries. He's a showman, and he poses himself. He tells everybody to stand up. This is at the end of the show, and I have the audio of it so I can hear him saying this. Everybody stand up. I want you to put your arms in the air, and I want you to shout and then he does that, and then he's trying to pose himself uh, so that he's, looks like he's in the right place, which looks perfect right here. And then they take 3 photos, and each time they have to scream out something, and then somebody's on stage taking the photo. And it's a really good idea. I think it's a great idea, and it really looks like a lot of energy. And he is quite energetic. He's got a lot of personality. Like I said, he's a lot like Matt Frazier, but he's not as fast. He doesn't run his mouth as much as Matt Frazier does. This guy's a little calmer, believe it or not, which isn't saying much because Matt Frazier is just like he's on like 4 times speed or something like that. And I'm talking about 4 times speed on the audio of your feed, that kind of thing. So there were four. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 4 people who posted on the social media underneath the picture of that picture I just showed you. 1 posted on Instagram and 3 posted on Facebook. And what Stuart Michaels tells everybody at the end of the show is to go to his social media. He says, I no longer do personal readings. I just can't do it anymore. I'm too busy. I'm on tour all the time. And he says, I can't do personal readings. So what I want you to do is go to my social media and make a post about, what you thought and how, did you enjoy your show and all that kind of stuff. And anybody, I'm going to pick one of you guys randomly and I'll message you and I will give you a private reading over Zoom. Now that's extremely dangerous to do because the psychic mediums have nothing but trouble with people who impersonate them. So there are these people who make these fake accounts that would look like their name, and then they will private message people who post underneath and say, I'm getting a message. I really want to give you this message, and a lot of people fall for this, and I don't blame them. It looks legit, and why not? And then what ends up happening is they get threatened. They're told to give them a bunch of money, and there's a lot of swearing and insults. So I think it would really hurt your brand if you were doing that. Now, I just think that maybe Stuart Michael probably isn't big enough yet, and that maybe he's not being hit up with those trolls yet, but it has hit a lot of other people. And you'll see on the psychics' websites and their social media, I will never, ever private message you and give you a reading. Never. So this guy's saying, I'll private message you. So that just makes it more likely that somebody's going to private message making a fake Facebook account and say, you were at Middlesbrough and you were selected and I'm going to give you a private message, and then try to get money out of them and just go through the whole list. And maybe only 1 or 2 people will pay. Maybe. The other thing is that it's forcing people, not forcing, but if you want a private reading, it's making you go to his social media and leave a post. And it's when you're dealing with a hot reader, which I think he's doing, when you're dealing with somebody who's hot reading, you've just presented your Facebook page right there. Now he gets to choose who he's going to pick to do the private reading for. So he just needs to go and look at the posts and just pick one, and whoever's got enough on it that looks like he could give a good reading to, gleaning the information for your Facebook page. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what he's doing. I have no evidence of that other than what he said he's doing. He says that this show in Middlesbrough, that this is how he's handling it. I just am going to assume that's pretty easy to do whenever, if he's trying to do it some other way, if he's actually communicating with the dead, that's the hard way. It's much easier to go to their Facebook page, click on it, and just look at some pictures and decide who it is that you want to give the reading to, and then just message them and say, I'm going to give you a private reading. Now, why is it these people don't do private readings anymore? Well, because if you're charging somebody 200 pounds for a 30-minute reading, or you could go to a venue and do 2 hours and make 20,000 euros. and you do maybe 10 readings. They're all like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that. And the whole room is getting a lot of, energy of watching it and everything like that. So the 4 people I found, and I'll show you, I spent a lot of time. This was very tedious after I transcribed everything. So there was this woman named Kelly. She says that her friend got the reading, and I'm not going to hide all of this because it's all on Facebook. So Kelly McDonald, she says her friend got the reading, and I found the photo of her and her friend getting, going afterwards and having their picture taken with Stuart Michael, but I don't know the name of the friend, so I can't find her social media and know if she is even on Facebook. I don't know. There was a woman named Michelle who said, you gave a message to my cousin. And then a little bit later, the cousin comes through and says, her name is Marie Lawther, Lawther. And she says her mom and dad came through and thank you very much, and all that stuff. So I have that. There was a woman on Instagram. Her name is Kazzied 63. She said she had communication with her best friend's daughter, Claire. Claire was 41 when she died. Her ma'am, Patricia, died years before, and she brought her up. Her father's name was Jeff, Geff. Now, I heard this reading and I saw her post on Instagram, but her Instagram post is private. I swear, and I spent probably an hour trying to find where I'd heard this story before. And I know I've seen this video, but I don't have it on my playlist. So I don't know if it was a video I watched on somebody, somewhere else and didn't record it, but this is supposed to have happened. Well, it did happen on September 11th, 2025 in Middlesbrough. But this whole story, I mean, I know I'm not dreaming. I know it. I swear I've heard this before. So I can't think of where I heard it, but I'm almost positive I saw images where somebody was talking about it. And I'm really suspicious about that, because if the person has gone to more than one event and he calls them the same person each time, or at least more than once, and just tells the same story, it's true. And if this woman is getting this reading, she could be a stooge and not realize she's a stooge. She would just say, when I go to see Stuart Michael, my Claire and Patricia always come through, because they have very strong personalities and very strong wanting to give me a message. And it's just interesting how it always happens whenever I go to these events. So I don't know. Somebody less tired than I am hopefully will find this somewhere. And I'll give you an analogy. When my team was going to go see Thomas John in Vegas, and we would go in, record everything, and then go back and listen to it later. And my team members would stay in character and they would go and interact with the other people who were at the event. So Thomas John had an event in Vegas, and one woman got a reading, and Thomas John said, I know you're carrying a deck of cards with you. He's telling me you have a deck of cards with you. And the person pulls out a deck of cards out of their purse and says, I do have a deck of cards with me. You're right. And the audience goes, woo. So one of my people who was there recording everything went over to that woman after the fact, after the whole thing's over, and said, wow, that was really amazing, that he knew that you had a deck of cards and everything. Congratulations, your dad came through or something. She goes, yeah, he does that all the time. And her friends walked by and said, why is it you always get a reading? She goes, well, my dad just wants to talk to me all the time. And they're like, yeah, well, every time you go to his show, you hog all the readings from Thomas John. She goes, well, whatever. So in other words, anytime Thomas John sees this woman in the audience, He just pulls her up and does the same thing each time. And the person doesn't realize that they're the shill. Get it? So that happens. All right. Gosh, I'm not going to go through every single thing. Let's see if we can sum up some of this. All right. So, all right. All right. So he starts off the show. It's interesting because he doesn't do it in an induction, which is typical. Most of them kind of fill time by showing past clips and stuff like that. And there was a little bit, but not a lot of showmanship at the beginning. He doesn't have a very big track record. All right, maybe in time if he's going to follow Matt Fraser a little bit more. And he asked the crowd, and again, I'm only hearing this, if there's a lot of people there who have seen him before, and it didn't sound like there's a lot of people who had seen him before. And then he says, how many people, where is it you've been, those people who haven't heard of me before, I mean, who haven't come to a show before, how did you hear about me? And most of them are, saying Instagram and TikTok. So he says about his abilities. Psychically, I can see into people's past, present, and future. So that means I will be able to see things such as scenes, sittings, names, places, numbers, all things that will mean something to you and nothing to me because it's your life I'm looking at and not my own. I connect to spirit. I hear them. I literally hear voices talking to me. When the connection is really strong, I see and I hear them. So I will be able to see who they are, what they look like, why they're here. And then he also says he's a dream interpreter. The persons that went, they were like, oh no, not a dream interpreter. Oh my gosh. All right. And he says that give a group audible shout. Yeah. So he does a lot of like, hey, everybody, having a great time here in Middlesbrough. And he's quite, he does some funny banter. All right. There's a few rules. Rule number one, everyone needs to be quiet so he can tune into your wonderful energies you brought with you. That's a quote. Number two, be brave with your reading. Don't come to me after the show and say you were too scared to come forward and when the message was for you. Number three, no filming by the audience because we don't want a reading to go viral without consent. And that was the induction part. My let me look at these notes again. Oh, I was going to show you this Middlesbrough post. So this is the kind of thing I'm looking at. Let me show you. So he's trying to do a publicity, obviously, for himself. And he's putting up these people's pictures. There they are. They agreed to have their photo taken. The couple that are persons that went didn't get their picture taken. They said there was quite a long queue. And so they weren't going to do it. But these are the people who showed up. This is one of the people who had a reading. This is her friend, but her friend, there's nothing here saying who she is. It's Kelly McDonald is the redheaded right there. And I went and looked at her social media and she's kind of into psychics. And she says she has special powers. What a nice photo, by the way. I want you to know that is a really nice image, at least of him. He's quite photogenic. Again, he really reminds me a lot of Matt Fraser. So you can see, at least from the photos, mostly it is women. There are some men scattered in here and there. And I'm not blocking out any of these photos because they are all public on his page and he's making he's not trying to hide anything. And then here is the image of the event. Again, this is a public photo and people decided that they would leave their own comments because they're hoping to get a private reading from him. 104 comments, 102 reactions, and there's been 2 shares. Ooh, I should look and see if those shares where they go to. So I went through, of course, you got to go to all comments. And I went through, and that's how I was able to figure out who it was who said they were there that night that got a reading. See, here's Kelly McDonald. Absolutely fantastic evening. Gorgeous guy. My friend's reading was amazing. It was my first time seeing you, and I'll definitely see you again. Thank you for the advice and the hug, too. Such a lovely person. Kiss, kiss. And so on. So there's only 100, there's only 100 comments. Some of them are from people who were there who didn't get a reading. All right. So it's a double-edged sword as far as, you really want to pump up your business, you want to look like you're really successful. And if you're going to use it for hot reading, okay, that's even more easy to do. But you know, I don't know. I don't know why you would want to do that. But anyway, here's the post he made of himself before the event. He's in Middlesbrough, and here he is. He September 11th. Let's see if we can play a little of this.
Hello everyone, it is Thursday, the 11th of September, and I am now in Middlesbrough, where if I look outside my dressing room window, it's absolutely peeing it down with rain. Can you believe it? I know. We've had a great journey here. It's gone smoothly. Getting has all gone very well. And, well, Cole last night. What a wonderful, wonderful night that was. Thank you all.
Here his weather, he says we. So he's traveling with someone. Unless that's a colloquialism for the Brits. I don't know.
Hello everyone,
Oops.
it is Thursday,
Don't want
the
him to
11th.
play again. Also, you can see people who have posted on there who are saying, I loved your show and so on. What I'm looking for, and I didn't find, to be quite frank with you, is anybody saying, I will be there tonight, which is what Thomas John would always do. He'd say, hey, I'm going to be here tonight at such and such. Who's coming to see me? And then people would say, I will be there. I'll be there. I won't be there tonight, but I will be there next Tuesday, or I've got tickets for Valentine's Day, or whatever it is. They would say that. I had a giant spreadsheet when he had the Vegas show, and I would just go through and on each day of the week that I knew somebody was going to be showing up, they'd say, yeah, my anniversary is on Tuesday, but I'll be showing up on Friday. My husband and I are going to have a nice dinner, and then we're going to show up for your show. I would put that on the spreadsheet so I could see who was going to be there. And then when we recorded everything that happened at the show, we could just go in and see, go back to the Facebook pages, because Thomas John was using only Facebook at that time. Now he's doing a lot of Instagram and TikTok. Oh my gosh. And so you could go in, you could get to the Facebook post. Facebook's perfect because it's got so much content in there. It's not just like, it just has everything on Facebook. Oh my gosh. If somebody posts, there's just so much more content. So I'm gonna turn on the fan. I'm hot. Temperature wise, and it's probably nothing compared to what you guys have. But we don't have air conditioning here in this city I live in, but I am hot. Okay, so hopefully that isn't too annoying. All right. What else did I want to say? Let me go back to my notes. Sorry, guys. Trying to be complete because I don't really want to deal with this man again. I really don't want to. So from the people's comments, oh, they really didn't like him. Maybe 30 people left before the end. And our person was at the break, wanted to go so bad. He's like, I want to go. I want to go home. I want to go home now. This is awful. I could hear him saying that to his partner and to me. And so Stuart Michael does a bunch of readings and then takes a 20-minute break, comes back, and then has people come to the microphone. They tell him their dreams, and he interprets the dreams, which is just whatever. And then he does a few more readings after that. And then it's goodbye. Take a picture, post on my social media, and I'll give one lucky person a reading, and then goodbye. That's it. No standing ovations. It just sounded not super great applause. Like people had just talked to the dead. There was lots of people who said they enjoyed the show, they loved the show, but then again, they are trying to get a private reading from him. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, what a joke," which is what my person says. Stuart Michael is an absolute joke. My gosh. Okay. All right. We've gotten through that. All right. So he does use the word darling all the time. It's really annoying. And I'm not gonna play all the audio. I have all the audio, but I have a hard time with the accent. So there are a couple times where I would go, I'm not quite sure what he's saying. Dun, dun, dun. So it was interesting because he describes people, and he says that he can see them, hear them. When the connection is really strong, I can see and hear them. So I'll be able to see who they are, what they look like, and why they are here. That's a lot. And then it says here he can see things such as scenes, sittings, names, places, numbers, and all things that will mean something to you, because it's not going to mean anything to me. I think that would be enough to be able to help solve some cold missing persons and cases, wouldn't you think? Maybe people who they have the body, but they don't know who the person is, and it's going to cost thousands of dollars and somebody to do genetic genealogy to figure out who the person is. But no, he's busy. Dude's busy. He's doing weather reports and stuff. So one of the comments that my person said, and I noticed this also, is that when he's going to say a name, he'll bring up somebody famous as a way of getting the name. So in this first case, he says, I'm getting an older, two men when it come through. One is older than the other. What? No kidding. Even if they're twins, one would be older than the other, right? Dark hair, not a recent passing, maybe related to the other man coming through. An older man died more recently. The older man died more recently. I'm getting the royal family, name's Harry. And this woman says, that's mine. That's my person. So then they bring over a microphone for her. And he says, sibling, it's a sibling to someone here. And she says, yeah. And the older man's name is Harry. The brother was a protector, handsome, died quick, and it's very raw for you. And then Stuart Michael says, who is Paul? And she says, my brother. And he says, this is who I'm talking to. And she says, yes. And he says, were you very close? She says, yes. And he says, charismatic man, boy, is he saying boy? Why is he saying boy? And she says, it's his son. And then Stuart Michael says, when he did pass, was his son young? That's asking a question that a psychic should not have to ask. She says, yes. And then he says, I'm going to your dad now, stocky built, thinning gray hair, and Harry was a friendly bloke. She says, yes. And then he says, not only is there a boy here from Paul, your dad is talking about you. Yours, do you have a boy also? Again, why are you asking that question? You're the psychic. And she says, no, but I did miscarriage a boy. She volunteers that. And he says, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know, but he's talking about a boy with you. Would he have been aware of that? Again, another question that the psychic should actually have an answer to. She says that, yeah. And he says, Stuart Michael says, he knows that you are around. He knows you work. Before he passed away, you had a close bond with him and he was around you. You were checking in and all of these sorts of things. Does this make sense to you? Another question that shouldn't be, asked. She says, yes. He also talks about stories and fun times. He always had a story to tell. He's in his element over there. Boy, 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 boy. And then something about Australia, and it was kind of getting kind of hard to hear. And he tells her that you've got a lot of love to give and to keep going. And then he says, "Can I give you a hug?" And then he says, "Hey, everybody, some applause for the sitter," and everybody starts applauding. Yay. It's just like, you know, I just came back from a magic convention this weekend, 3 days ago. And I was there for 4 days. And stage magicians and bizarre magic, seance, mentalism, all kinds of different acts. And it was a conference for people who are performers. I went to give a talk about psychic mediums. And there's no everything is there's nothing there that's a secret because you're performing for other people who are also doing these effects. So somebody will say, "Oh, wait, can I see that again? Do that sleight of hand again so I can see how you did it," or "Can I see that?" or "How did you get that?" They're telling the secrets to each other because it's not recorded or anything. It's all out there. So this persona, this whole thing is just so much like being at that magic conference. He would fit in perfectly for that magic conference. It was very interesting, except that he claims to be able to speak to the dead, and he's not. He's not kidding about it. Whereas a seance or bizarre magic, they do cold readings, hot readings, and they pretend they're talking to the dead. Usually, they don't talk. Everybody I talk to, nobody says, "I will talk to the dead," like your family member or anything like that. They think these people are scum of the earth, and they are. I mean, people like this Stuart Michael are some of the lowest of the low, but they have a disclaimer. And if they do seance, it's like, Jack the Ripper or some fictional character or something like that. They're not talking to somebody's grandfather or anything like that. No. They don't do, most of them don't do that. Or if they do, it's with a wink and a nod. And, I'm just kidding, right? I'm an actor. I'm playing a part. Okay. So whenever Stuart Michael says, "Give this person some applause, thank him for," all I can see is somebody's it's an act, like he's just flipping about it. It's a joke. He couldn't make it in the magic community, so here he is making it as a psychic medium. That's all I think about when I see him and when he talks like that. It's so performative, right? You can communicate with the dead, but yet you're strutting around on stage and you're doing jokes about old people in Middlesbrough and jokes about stuff like that. And who's here, who's single in the audience? Can I find somebody else here who's single? And she'll meet you afterwards. And at one point he tells people, "Did you have a nice break?" So they took a 20-minute break. And he says, "Did you have time to put your teeth back in?" And it's just really kind of belittling. And again, it was like a bad magician with no magic. Really, I I don't know. People were laughing. Maybe they were laughing because of nervous laughter. I don't know. I didn't find it all that amusing. So he would go in and he would do these generic readings. Somebody would claim it, and then he would come up with some very spot on names, first names, and then maybe something else generic, and then he would say something else that might be specific, and then he'd leave and say, "Thank you. They're watching over you. They love you. But have a great day," or whatever. Can I give you a hug? Some applause. All right. Okay, let's see. All right. So I think he's getting the information from something he's handling all the tickets. Now, I haven't had a show there. I haven't gone to one of his shows. I have a feeling that to get tickets, let's look real quick. If I wanted to get a ticket, let me look. Guess I should have looked before we got here. So if I wanted to get a ticket, how do I do that? What kind of information do I do? Click on the date. All right. I think this one's already passed. No, that's already passed. So that ain't gonna help us any. Let's pick something in January. The corn exchange he's gonna be at. Okay. Dates and times, photos. Where do I get my ticket? Book. January 23rd. It's a Friday. Ah, let me show you guys this. Teresa Caputo does the exact same thing. Okay, so check it out. So you pick the day. Let me go back. Well, I picked a day just at random. And then it says dates and times, January 26th, Friday, general start time 7:30, 29 pounds, 30 pounds, book. And what comes up is a seating chart. So you get to pick where you're going to seat yourself, and you pick a spot. Let's see, let's take that one. You can't have a single seat next to you. Okay, I'll buy 2 tickets. General admission, add to basket. Pay. So you would create a profile, you'd log in. How much of this information does he have ahead of time? Can he see it? Log in with Google or X. So he may be able to find your information from the way you buy a ticket, but he knows where you're sitting. It's pretty easy to find somebody in the audience if you know where they're sitting and you've already figured out ahead of time who you're going to be doing a reading for, that you've hot read and saw their Facebook page. Ew. I wonder if that's true on all of his things. Let me look at another day. Let me pick something in. It might have been just that one venue. Here's the Grimsby Auditorium on May 1st. Okay, book tickets. Don't miss it. Online. Let me show you. This is how we investigate real time. So disappointing. You know, I've spent hours on this today, and then here it is. This is May 1st, 2026. It's Friday. Book tickets. There's the event. Lots of people. So you can get your tickets. Choose your seats. And then continue. Some will say, share this after you paid for it. Full price, add to basket, continue to basket. View details, here's the price, promotional code, checkout. Start checkout, email required. Continue. Okay, I'm going to get some tickets. First name, last name, phone number, mobile number, ticket delivery. How do you want it delivered? Contact preferences, order summary, billing address, payment. Anyway, as you can see, there's information that can be gleaned, or he's only doing maybe 10 readings. So you've got 500 people there. You only need to know 10 people who have said they will be there that night, either on social media or some other way you can get it. There's multiple ways of doing this. So it's not like, this would be difficult to find 10 people and pick something generic out of their what they say. So here's this one. This was fascinating. A woman wants to come through, died before her time, but mature. She was in her 60s, he thought, and a more recent passing. Lots of shoulder-length hair, It was unfair for her to die at this age. Like it's fair at any age. I made it to 120, and I still don't think it's fair. She's wearing glasses. I noticed there's a lot of people that were wearing glasses. There was weight loss at the end. Family, children, Steve or Steven still here. So a woman says, that's my reading. And he said, who is Steven? And she says, that's my uncle. And he immediately says, the reading is not for someone with an uncle. So he says he says it's kind of hard to hear. He says it's like trying to listen to a radio station with interference. So then he goes to somebody else, and it was a man, and he said that is Steve, Stephen, and Sarah children. And he says a man claims it. I wrote down a man claims it. That moment I didn't know who the man was. I do know now, and I'll show you. My love, a woman in her 60s, is this your partner? Again, he's asking a question when he should be making a statement saying, this is your partner, not is this your partner? The man says yes. And talking about children, she's putting an X through them, which I don't quite understand. Maybe when I hear it again. She's saying you're doing great and better than she would. The children are kind of adult, her children. Do you have a lot of children around you? And the man says, sometimes. Grandchildren. They look up to you. She visits you often and watches over you. She has her own way of doing things. Who is Wendy? Again, a question when you shouldn't be asking questions. Thomas John does exactly the same thing because he's hot reading. And then the sitter says, my wife. And then Stuart Michael says, she keeps checking in, looking after the children with love, hug. And that was it. And the persons who went to the event who recorded this for me said, well, that wasn't anything. And the woman says, yeah, you're right. That wasn't anything. Let me play this a little bit for you. So I don't think it's very long. Let me see if I can get to the point where it's the woman she says is my uncle. I had this queued up. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. If you can hear it well enough to, I mean, I must have been able to hear it, so you probably can hear it. Share sound. Okay, so there's nothing to see except the image that's here. So I just put the image here so you guys could see, have something to look at instead of my face.
She gets all this kind of off her mind. So she's talking to me about family and what have you. There was a name that I've just heard her mention, and she's talking about, I feel that there is something to do with person still here, not in spirit. This is somebody that is still here, and this is when she's talking about children. There is something to do with Steve. Steve here, I'm going to say Steve or Stephen is what I kind of hear. Keep talking to. Okay, she is talking to me now. Steve is what there is something to do. Okay, so hiccup in. Did you sneeze? Oh, bless you, darling. It's alright. It's alright. I've got Sarah, there's something to do with Stephen. She's talking to me about family. Oh, there's a lady. Is that lady? Yeah, okay. Can you relate to everything I've said? Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to get some more information now, alright? I'm going to let him, yeah, just stay there for a second because I've got this. Those two names mean a lot to you? Sarah? Yeah. Stephen?
My uncle.
Sorry?
My uncle.
Your uncle? No. Thank you, but no. Thank you for being brave, darling, but no, I don't feel that that's where we're going with this. I feel that Although this lady's mentioned that name, I don't feel that this is uncle. I feel that this is something out closer. I will say that. As I was mentioning family, here is kind of talking about family. And is that your hand up too there, sir? Sorry, I didn't see you there.
So as you can hear, well, I don't know how well you can hear, I could transcribe it, but as what's going on is that he goes to this woman, she puts her hand up, he goes over to her and he says, "Did you resonate with the name Steve or Stephen?" And she says, "Yes." And he says that, "Who is Stephen?" And she says, "My uncle," and immediately shuts her down and says, "No." In other words, he knows this is not the person. Now that's so generic. I mean, like I said, if he has a seating chart, which apparently he does, I didn't realize that, he knows where to go, because otherwise, if you have an audience of 500 people and you say, "Who has a Steven out there?" I mean, everybody's hand's going to go up pretty much, living or dead. He doesn't make it clear. So he's probably walking around going to, in this audience, he's probably like with his motioning with his hand to a small group of people in this little area. Which of you has a Steve or a Stephen? And then they put their hand up. So now he's saying, "Oh, you, sir." And he almost sounds happy. Let me see if I can replay that for a second. Listen to this tone of his voice when he's like, "Oh, you, sir, you have your hand up. I just saw your hand up." So I'm going to tell you what he says so that you can kind of follow along a little easier, and then I'll play it for you. Again, is that there are a lot of children, they're kind of adults. The children are around you a lot. They look up to you. There's grandchildren. She visits often and watches over you. She has her own way of doing things. And her name is, he says, "Who is Wendy?" And he says, "That's my wife." He says, "She keeps checking in, looking after children with love, give you a hug." Okay. Let's listen to this a little bit. It's not long, a minute maybe.
Cool. No. Thank you, but no. Thank you for being brave, darling, but no, I don't feel that that's where we're going with this. I feel that, although this lady's mentioned that name, I don't feel that this is uncle. I feel that this is something out closer. I will say that. As I was mentioning family, here is kind of talking about family. And is that your hand up too there, sir? Sorry, I didn't see you there, so. Okay, I will say this, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong with both of you, but I've got to go with my gut and what I feel I'm interpreting here from what I'm hearing. It's almost like trying to listen to a radio station with interference, okay? But I'm getting it. Now, as I was listening to her and as I see her and as I sense her, I feel that she was talking to me about children. This is where she was going with her life, and that's when I heard the name Stephen, and then I've also heard Sarah. So I feel that this would be down the line of children with her. Does this make sense to you? Stephen, Sarah? Both. Everything I've said so far makes sense to you. Okay, could I have a microphone to this gentleman just here? Thank you very much. Are you okay to stand up, sir? Are you alone? All together. You can stand up and comfort him if you want, just so he's not on his own if you need to, alright? Right. First of all, I just want to go back to the lady herself, okay? Because I've got this kind of shoulder length hair, and I do get lighter in colour, okay? And I do see glasses as I see her. I feel that there may have been weight loss towards the end here, so I do feel that there might have been something underlying, God love her, with her. And I don't see her being too old, I only sort of see her being 60s. Okay, does this make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. My love, she says to you, is this your partner?
Yes.
God love you. God love you. Okay? Talking to me and I get this context, so there's definitely something underlying. But I've got to tell you though, when they go back to the spirit world, all these things get taken away from them. You go through this transition of the passing over phase, okay? So any illnesses and anything get taken away, okay? I've got to say that to you. I don't feel that this is it when it comes to family. I feel that she's mentioning other names, and I feel that all of them, Okay, so I want to be transparent here. I do, if there is that, I'm sorry, but I feel there is more here that she's kind of like talking to me about as well. Yeah, there's talk about children. Does S run all the way through them?
Yes.
Okay. So they all begin with S.
Yes, they do. Yes.
And there's one more that I've not mentioned, okay, because she's a talker. I'm trying to listen down to what she's kind of saying. So, okay, what she's saying to me is, you're doing great. You are doing great. You're carrying on. You're being strong. You're doing great. You're brave, and you're doing better than what she probably thinks she could have done. Okay.
I don't know that way.
Sorry?
I don't know about that.
Okay, but bless your heart. But this is kind of what she's saying to me. What's about all the children? Now, I don't know why she's saying this, because I feel that children are kind of adult, and I feel that I've mentioned children, like her children, but she's talking to me about all the children. So, do you have a lot of like children around you? As in,
Sometimes, yes.
sometimes, okay. I'm not saying you're Santa Claus or anything like that, but like, is grandchildren that kind of thing? Because I just feel that when I say, I feel that there's quite a few of them, all right, because she's talking to them about them like as a collective, okay, that she's talking to me about, and they look up to you. They look up to you now, is what she's saying, and she's really happy about that. She sees them all and what have you. She comes to visit you often. Know that she does come and visit you often. She checks on you to make sure you're all right, and you're doing okay. You're doing great. Okay. She jokes about things that, well, maybe that could have been done my way, but it's okay. But that's just her. Okay. She's that sort of a person. And I think you know that that's the sort of thing that she would say. However, she's very pleased with what you're doing. She's kind of carrying on, and she's doing all these wonderful things, okay, that I kind of have that. Really clearly then, I was really listening to her. Okay, it's Wendy.
My wife.
This is her.
This is her, yes.
Okay. I was just taken to Peter Pan. So, right. Who I'm literally speaking with is who's here, and wonderful energy is coming through to let you know that you're doing okay. Still around, she still checks in on you. You're doing fine. Don't keep seeking her approval, because you know that well, she's better her way. But you're doing great, and you're doing better than what she thinks she could have done in these circumstances. Okay, you're looking after children. You're looking after grandchildren. You are literally the head of everything now, but you're doing it with style, you're doing it with love, you're doing it with everything. Okay, you really, really are. So please be proud of yourself. This is what the message is from her. I'm filling up because I feel that you've had a lot on your shoulders.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's shit, isn't it?
Just a bit.
I know. A hug?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you can sort of hear, what is going on is he just went on and on about children, and there's children. You're doing pretty good. You're holding up really well. She's checking in on you. You're doing better than she would probably be able to do if she was there and you were not, had died, or I don't know, something. He's not really clear. He's saying that you're doing pretty darn good and she's checking in on you. Now, what's the harm in all that? It does make you feel like you're being watched. It does make you feel like you're being loved, and that there is life after death, which of course these people believe in. And it's going to make you feel okay, right? It's going to make you feel, probably leaving the event feeling great. But we don't know what's missing. We don't know what kind of messages that could have been there. Maybe they had a fight, or maybe he had done something, like he didn't show up. Maybe she was in the hospital and the doctor's like, you need to come in now. And he's like, no, I'm tired. I'm gonna take a nap. I'm done with it. And she died while he was gone, and he's felt immense guilt about that. Well, she doesn't mention it, right? Or maybe many other things that he would be hoping to hear from her other than, you're doing pretty darn good. You're holding up pretty good. You sound like a man in grief. And also, it makes it very difficult to move on to a new relationship when you think that your spouse is still there watching you all the time, right? So if this man wanted to be involved in a new relationship, this is going to make it difficult for him because she's watching him all the time. And she didn't give him any permission about it. She didn't say, oh, Stuart Michael didn't say, hey, she says that the next door neighbor who's a widow has been, hanging out a lot, and I think you guys would make a really good match. I think I'm going to stop watching you all the time. I think you should make a match with the widow next door. She's been married 7 times before, and everyone is a Henry. Henry. Only like one of you will get that reference, okay? Oh, I love whoever that one person is who saw that reference. Okay. So let's look at this. Where I'm gonna show you some screenshots because this person, again, publicly put up that they were had gone to the event. And I want to show all these pictures of these people. Let me try a different photo because I don't want to show the one with the children in it. I blurred them, but okay, this one's blurred. Here we go. I mean, the kids didn't get permission to be in this nonsense. So here is a picture of him, Brian Davies, June 6th, all the grandkids. So this is, he doesn't post a lot on Facebook. So this is a very like right up at the top kind of photo. It's easy to find. Here he is with all the grandkids, no Wendy. So this is June the 6th. Let me pull up another photo. Nope, I want that one. I want the blurred one. The hiccups. Again, there's Wendy, short hair, glasses, and then he's over here in this blur. I don't know why they thought this would be a nice photo. I mean, it's not blurry on his Facebook page, but there's all the grandkids. And there he is with his wife. And this is 2000 and let me look at my unblurred photo. It is from 2019. Okay. So it also says on his Facebook page, there it is, September 7th. My wife has been, is, and will forever remain the finest treasure I've ever been given. And I'll be thankful for her for my entire life. So it has that post. And yeah, I can share this. This is from the 22nd, 2022. Sadly, on the 23rd of October, Wendy passed away peacefully in the hospital, surrounded by her loving family. Dun, dun, dun. Dress code bright and cheerful, just family flowers. But if anyone wants to donate, you can at the chapel. So this is from 2022. So very sad. On his Facebook page, it also, and I don't want to show it because I didn't blur all the kids' faces. It also says he's married to Wendy. So it's not difficult when you know the person's name and you have access to their Facebook page. It's quite easy to hot read, at least as much as what he's saying, which isn't much. He got the name Wendy. He got the, oh, I was going to show you this. He said the names Steve, Stephen, and Sarah, right? There it is. Relationship to Wendy, married in 77. His daughter's name is Sarah. His son's name is Stephen. And his brother-in-law, his name is Steve. Pretty darn easy. That's why he knew that he didn't want the woman who said, no, my uncle's name is Steve. He's like, oh, nope, wrong. He's realizing I'm supposed to be going to a man whose wife has died, whose name is Wendy. And so why he called on that woman at first, I don't know. Maybe because he thought she was, the sister or something like that. I don't know. We don't know. All right. So there was another one that had said she had a reading there. I'm not going to show you that, but it was because it was really simple. She said, let me pull it up here, that her mom and dad, or her mom and dad, came through. And that was great because her mom and dad came through. Oh, and her name is Marie. And this was interesting because, Marie and Mary and those kinds of names are like really common names. So whenever somebody says they're trying to get a hold of a Marie, okay, here's the thing. I'll just read it to you. Two mature people together, a husband and wife, woman with short gray hair, man with gray hair and glasses. Underlying illnesses, a cancer of some sort, wonderful spirits. Lady says, Mary or Marie. I'm not sure if it's her name or someone at the venue. So a woman says, that's for me, which is like so generic. So again, I think what's going on is he's probably knows where the woman's sitting and he goes up to a small area of the venue and he's like, one of you people, kind of like waving his hand. Is there somebody here? I'm getting two mature people, husband and wife together, a woman with short gray hair. I think that's what he's doing. Because if you were to throw that out to the entire audience, you're going to have way too many people. So the people who are going to this event for us, they're just, you can hear him. He's like, just starts laughing because throwing out the name Mary or Marie is just like half of the world. Somebody's going to have a Mary or Marie, especially whenever he says, I don't know if it's her name or it's somebody at the venue. I don't know. Somebody named Mary or Marie. Anybody know anybody named Mary or Marie? All right. So somebody named Marie does claim the reading. The couple who died had it bad at the end. And then Marie says, yeah, she had trouble walking. And then Stuart Michael says he was a handsome man. All right. And then he starts talking about a dog. Your dog is getting on. I'm not sure how old he is. And it was a little hard to hear. You were very worried about your dog for a while. No, not at all. My dog is I've had him for years and I'm just really, he's very ill or he hurts or something's wrong. I'm not worried about him at all, right? Says no pet owner ever. Something about a dog. She's had dogs that died and they're coming through. He had a lot of dogs coming through at this event. Something about the dog being yellow, something about him being ill. Then he comes back to the humans. I think he said they were in their 90s, that the parents were in their 90s. The psychic praises the sitter about how she took care of her parents at the end. And the spirit dogs come back and tease her living dog. And the woman says, yeah, he sits and barks at nothing. And the psychic says, yeah, they're coming back. And then he starts talking about her loving animals, I guess her mother. And the dad is a little bit disappointed that somebody wasn't helping you out with the care for your parents. She goes, well, my son helped me. And then the psychic says, was there somebody else? She goes, yeah, my other son. And then he says, they're proud of the lady you have become. They are at peace and at rest and have come through. And she just kind of made a sigh like, oh. And then he says, they are warm, they are happy, and they are together. Applause, everyone. Brought forth. So really, there wasn't much of anything. Once he figured out, and I could show you a picture of this lady. I don't feel like showing it to you, but she's obviously in her 70s. And So her parents would probably, what are the odds, be dead. But it's even easier whenever you're reading their social media. And she is one of the people who posted on social media saying she got a reading, and I could see her Facebook page. And the main picture on her Facebook page is a very elderly woman who looks like she is needing to be, she's not like looking at the camera all like smiling and everything. She looks very confused and like somebody's helping her hold, she's holding on, and she looks very like off guard kind of image. So she looks like somebody who's in very bad shape, and she definitely looks like she could be in her 90s. And there's probably dogs somewhere in there. And this idea that a dog, I hope you guys are sitting down out there who are watching this. A dog, can you imagine this? A dog barking at nothing. I know that's evidence of the paranormal. That's evidence of life after death and ghosts and orbs and all that other stuff. Maybe space aliens are visiting your kitchen. But why would a dog bark at nothing? Can't even imagine. Just can't even imagine. No, that's evidence right there. A sarcasm, people. So the sitter is named Marie. So it was a hot read. Or a very boring, if the psychics are talking to him, they're not giving him very much. Your mom was in very bad health at the end. She had short gray hair. She's in her 90s because I'm looking at you, and you're obviously the daughter, and so your parents would at least be in their 90s. Well, no, that's true. It's true. They could have died early, right? They could have died, decades ago, but for some reason, he knew that they hadn't, because he's looking at her Facebook page and sees the photo. People are like, your mother, she was such a nice woman, from a post from like a year or two ago. Otherwise, how would he know that the person, that her parents died in their 90s? I guess he could be talking to the dead. I don't know. She didn't really give a lot of information. So then there's a lot of other stuff. Another dog, this time it's a thin dog, and you've got a lot of decisions to make. There's a lot of decisions you're going to have to make. And I don't know if you need to stay or go. It's almost like now you aren't in any fit state to make a decision right now. You got to heal a bit. Heal before you make a decision where you're going. A little pooch knows how you feel. When you make the decision, it will shock a lot of people. That's verbatim. He's got the word decision in there like what, 5 times? A lot is going on. You have a lot of decisions. There's a lot of decisions you are going to have to make. And I don't know if you need to stay or go. Why is this like, anybody out there who's listening to this right now? Anybody out there has no decisions? You don't have a lot of decisions to make. I mean, it's so generic, it's worthless. Then I was having some hard time hearing. I need somebody probably who speaks some UK UK English, who could go over some of this. But don't rush me, because I think I'm kind of done with this guy. Another one I'm sure is a hot read. He was looking for somebody named Gary. A man claims it. He says, I have a friend named Gary. And something about children. And then he says, is there a Luke? And he says, yeah, it's his brother. And then there's some mumbling I couldn't understand. And he says, I wish you all the best. So don't rush me to come and try to listen to this audio, because also it might be just unclear because it was audio. Not a lot. So again, that one that I said, I know I've heard this story somewhere before. Young lady with auburn hair. I'm being very specific here, he says. A young lady with auburn hair. I'm being very specific here. Reunited with a mum with a name Claire. A sense of urgency that she's okay. All right, we are okay. We are together. I get these two women. Thank you for making me work. And then he laughs. And then he moves to another, no, the person who's recording this starts laughing because it's not the person he was trying to hit. So he has to go to another woman because that wasn't, he's like, no, that's not the right person. So he goes to another woman and he says, the psychic says, is everything here that I just said making sense? And she says, yes. So so these are two women in this small area of space that are of the same a young lady with auburn hair who's just been reunited with her mom, and there's a name Claire, and there's a sense of urgency that she's okay. We're together, and there's two women there, and that was resonated with another woman besides the one that he had already hot read. So then I don't know, I don't remember why it was he went from one woman to the other, but it dawned on him he wasn't with the right person. He must have done a lot for this young lady. She is saying thank you. Mom has already been in spirit for a while. Who is Patricia? And she says, her mom. She wants to say thank you. She's okay. She's in spirit. She's with mom and she needs to get the message out. You need to pass on this message. We need more people like you. And she wants to thank you. And then he does the audience photo. I know for a fact I have read this somewhere recently. And now that I'm looking at my notes again, I know I have. So somewhere this story is out there where the woman says I think it was a video, and she says that her best friend is Patricia, and Patricia died. And so she took over care of Claire, the daughter. And so Claire and her lived together for a long time, and Claire became a woman and started to have her own life, but then ended up dying. And that now we don't have a name for this person. It was the person on Instagram that had a acronym for her name, and saying that they're together now, they're reunited in the next world, and they want to say thank you. I know I have seen that video somewhere. Gosh, I watch a lot of this stuff. I'm visualizing it. I know it's there. I can almost see like a room where they're interviewing this woman. I'll have to try to find it. But anyway, she's at this event on September 11th, 2025 in Middlesbrough, because I have the reading. So anyway, I'll have to try to find it, I guess, or somebody else can find it. Somebody find it for me because I really just don't want to do it. So then he starts talking about how he no longer does private readings, post on social media comments, and I will message one of you with a private reading over Zoom. He says he does everything himself. And then my correspondent at the end says, "Oh my God, I can't believe, Susan, I can't believe you put us through the night like that." Oh, okay. Let's read some of the things that was written like as soon as they got home. Okay, Stuart Michael is an absolute joke. There was no machine gun cold questioning, just a slow nay, a very slow exercise of randomly clicking his fingers. I was wondering about that because I could hear lots of like clicking of fingers and hand patting to demonstrate he was talking to the spirit. I think he was hot reading as his only hits were all direct names with very few mistakes on the names. He revealed each name with a dramatic storytelling. There was no questioning like names beginning with a J or Janet. Each name is direct. He was like, boom. And that's exactly what Thomas John does. And Thomas John is hot reading. We've proved that bunches of times. He was using info from obituaries or people who had emailed him, maybe to say they were coming to his event. And as we just saw, I think it's just people who bought a ticket. He knows where they're sitting in the audience, and some of them he has their social media. He's able to link up the name the person who has an event, the ticket, to somebody who's there, who's posted that they're going to be at the event. Okay, it was all padded out with the usual verbiage. They were lovely people, cared for everyone, and thank you, and they're looking after you. where two people were identified with names, he spewed out, quickly dismissed the one who was not following his predetermined narrative to eventually find the correct person he had hot read. He forever mentioned dog spirits. When he threw in a bit of cold reading, he usually failed. The person who was in the family who was currently very ill turned out to be the lady's dog, whom he said was very old. And the lady said the dog was 4. I didn't tell you about that. That's true. He read about a bunch of people, a few people in the first half, then a 20-minute break. And then he went for about 30 minutes interpreting people's dreams badly. Then he read about 4 more people, and I couldn't help but laugh because he would say they were ill before they died, came up a few times. Yeah, I heard that too. Okay. He hit on one lady who said he said she has a boy and she didn't have a son, but she remembered she had a miscarriage. And okay, there was no merch. And I find that very interesting. And no one wandering around the foyer asking questions. Apparently, he has no team, but does all of his act or management himself. I found that very odd because I was asking when they went to the event to see what it is, because usually these mediums will sell lessons, they will sell books, they will sell like dream journals, t-shirts, water bottles or something. They have merch that they're selling. So this guy had no merch, but he said that it looked like he was there by himself, other than the people who were at the event, who were running the event. Though in that video, it did say I started to show you where he's talking about the weather and how he got to Middlesbrough. He said, we got there okay, and so he said so maybe he's got a partner that he's traveling with, but they don't seem to be anybody running his event. And a lot of these, and it's interesting how many of these people work with their parents or a spouse, mostly, or a sibling, but it's usually somebody very tight. So like Thomas John works with his mom and his sister. Matt Frazier has his mom. Tyler Henry has his mom. Psychic Dean works with his parents. Let me think. Well, Teresa Caputo used to work with her family as well, but that was a reality show. So I think that what they do is they're working with not a love partner, because that relationship may end at some point, but somebody they trust more than anybody, a sibling or a parent, because the secrets, the things that are going on that we don't see, those little secrets, they need to be entrusted to somebody who's not going to betray you. So even if your parent said, I no longer want to have anything to do with this business, I don't like this, they're not likely to go and tell people what you're doing. They're just likely to say, I'm backing away. I don't want to have anything more to do with this. I'm busy. I'm going to use your millions and go buy an island or something. I don't know. I'm going to go on a vacation around the world. I think and that doesn't usually happen too much, but I think that's what usually is going on. I really don't think the people, especially who are hot reading, would entrust what they're doing to some love interest or somebody they're hired, even if they made people sign some kind of waiver saying, I'll sue you if you reveal the secrets of what I'm doing. I think that's still, they want to keep it closer to the chest. Besides, they'd have to hire a lawyer to deal with taking care of the paperwork. And when these people are starting out, they don't have the money to hire a lawyer to have the disclosure clauses signed and all that kind of stuff. I don't think so. So I think, like I said, I think they work with family. And so will this guy end up getting swag and all that other stuff? Time will tell. You can come back and look at this video later. So he says, I reckon there would be 500 people there plus there, maybe 30 people left before the end, but the direct hit on names brought gasps of amazement from a lot of the audience. Well, yeah, of course. If you don't know what you're looking for and you believe in this and the ability to communicate with the dead. This looks pretty damn amazing. Overall, boring, padded out with trivia, no hits apart from those names. I felt like he was taken the piss by stealing 32 pounds off all the audience. Kind regards, person's name. So I just want to look at this one last little thing again, which Stuart told us at the beginning of his event. He said, psychically, I can see into people's past, present, and future. So that means I will be able to see things such as scenes, sittings, names, places, numbers, all things that will mean something to you and nothing to me because it's your life I'm looking at and not my own. I connect to spirit. I hear them. I literally hear voices talking to me. When the connection is really strong, I see and I hear them. So we'll be able to see who they are, what they look like, why they are here. Does that sound like he fulfilled that? He's getting some old lady who's got short hair and glasses and it's gray. No kidding. He's getting some specific names, but it's not a good storyteller. This guy could go to the magisterium, which is the conference I just came from, and he would be laughed out of the venue because he's got the look and the persona, and he's got humor and a stage presence, but he has no show. He's completely missing the story. He's rushing through the readings to get to saying the name, and he's repeating himself a lot. I mean, he doesn't even have a really good repertoire. Lots of dogs, lots of people who were ill before they died. He's trying to say why he got the name, and he relates it to some famous kind of person. Whenever he got the name Wendy, he said, "Oh, I'm getting like who was the guy from Wendy and Peter Pan." So he mentioned Peter Pan. He goes, "Oh yeah, that's where I got. I've seen Peter Pan, so that's why I said Wendy." No, you hot read this on his Facebook page. And then he said, "With the royal family, I'm getting Harry," and that kind of stuff. So he's not even really smooth. I mean, this guy's got to do a lot more readings. He needs to, I don't know, I'm giving him advice. Well, I doubt he's going to watch this, but he needs to work on his repertoire. He needs to work on his storytelling ability. He needs to read a lot about the business and what good hot readers look like. There's another psychic that I haven't announced yet that I've been watching. I've got the videos done, and that's Operation Banana Cream Pie. And in that case, it's a woman, and she's hot reading. I mean, I can see the Facebook pages, and it's very obvious. And she's saying stuff, and it's so she's just stumbling over her words, how to get that hot read out to the person that she's hot reading. And she rushes it and says just whatever it is, like, "Oh, I'm getting this thing." And it's not smooth. It's abrupt. It's not well done. When Mark used to do hot reads, which we did all the time, but then I would do the hot reading, give him the information, and then he would follow it up with we would reveal later how he did it or what he did. And there was I'd give him like something is like a high school that the person had gone to, and maybe what the school colors were and the mascot was, because it's on their Facebook page, or where they went to high school, and then I can go look it up and see what the mascot was or in the school colors. In America, they do that. Apparently, they don't do that in Australia and New Zealand. And I was running into that. And then so Mark would be able to make up a story a little bit about, when you were young. I know this seems silly, but these colors meant a lot more to you then than they do now. I don't know why. Green, like a green, like the grass, really a green, and then gold. and a bright gold. And I have no idea what that means, but it's something that happened to you when you were younger. I mean, he would tell a story and it then and if it didn't hit, he just would move on. He didn't drill it into them like, why don't you remember your high school years? He would just move on and hopefully that person, it would occur to them later. So I could just find out when a person was born if I knew they were celebrating their 60th birthday on a certain day because of their Facebook post, or they were at an event like at the Magic Castle celebrating their birthday, which was Friday, or whatever it was, and they could tell me how old they are. Then I could just do some math and I could figure out what day of the week they were born. And then I would just tell Mark, this person was born on a Tuesday or a Sunday or whatever. And then Mark would just pull that out as there's this rhyme about a Monday child this, a Sunday child that, and he could do something like that. And he'd say, I think you're a Monday child or a Sunday child or whatever it is. And then they would be like, what? How would you know that? So there was always a story. They weren't rushing it to just get to here's the information I found on your Facebook page kind of stuff. Like I said, I read this to you earlier where he's just repeating over and over. Let's see if I have another example of that. I don't know the significance. Maybe she's having the hardest time with this. Let me see something I didn't say already. Young lady with auburn hair. I'm busy. I'm being very specific here. Reunited with mom and a name Claire. Okay, no. This part, like here, lots of decisions, lots going on, lots of decisions. There are a lot of decisions you're going to have to make. And I don't know if you need to stay or go. It's almost like now you aren't in any fit state to make a decision right now. You got to heal a bit, heal before you make a decision where you're going. A little pooch knows how you feel when you make the decision. It will shock a lot of people. It's just kind of a rambling of not really knowing what to say. It takes probably hundreds, if not thousands of readings to get really good at this, and feedback from people who would say, yeah, that, like me telling you really suck at this cold reading and hot reading stuff. So Stuart Michael, do something else with your life. I just don't think that there's anything for you. Now, will he be successful? I don't know. I'm not psychic. I found a few reviews. In America, we use Yelp and Ticketmaster and other things like that. And I don't know what the equivalent to that is in the UK. If somebody does know, please let me know and let's see what the reviews say about his shows. I'd be really curious. But I did like a quick review of, I said, reviews of Stuart Michael, and I found like 3 very credulous reporters who didn't even have any comments on their post, and it was like a blog almost saying, oh, I didn't know what to think, but he's very charismatic and people seem to like him. I think maybe he's talking to the dead. It was kind of that bad. So unless somebody comes up with something, I really don't want to revisit this guy. Got a lot of other stuff I want to show you that I got at the Mentalism conference. People were talking to me about different psychic mediums that might be I should investigate. And I found a physical medium who's regurgitating jewels and rings. I'm kidding you not. Oh my gosh. I've got to do some research on this guy, but he's just throwing them up. He's saying that he's apparating him, that they're going into his body, rings and jewels. Anyway, it's going to take somebody with a good stomach to watch those, but that's another video I've got to do in the future. So anyway, feels good to be back from my travels. I have a bunch more travels coming up in October. But for now, gosh, this is taking forever. I'm so glad I can just put a fork in this and be done with this guy, unless you guys come up with something else. But thank you for watching till the end. I just glanced to make sure I was recording. Oh, I would not be doing this again. Leave your comments. I love hearing from your comments, and let me know that I'm not out there doing this by myself, because I really, really do appreciate that. And thank you so much to the person and their partner who went who went to this event. You could hear your watch ticking, dude. That was funny. Yeah, I like the commentary. I really liked it. That was great. Thank you so much, you guys. And if anybody else wants to do any of this kind of undercover work for me for places that I can't really get to, please be in contact. But send it to me through my email, susangerbic@yahoo or gmail.com, or private message me on Facebook, because we don't want to give anybody out there a message saying, you know, who I'm going to go to this person's show, because somebody may be following my channel. I really doubt it. I don't think these psychic mediums have a clue. I don't think they're following anything. They're just trying to make a buck and trying to keep, you know, the competition away, because there's got to be so much competition that you know, are probably always ready. I know there are people on TikTok who are following this guy, Stuart Michael, and showing that he's reading their Facebook pages of people. I've seen those videos. I think it's great, but it's happening so fast on the screen, you can't really see where it is, what it is. And then there's usually like words covering it up, and it's just very hard to see what it is you're showing. So, I, you know, keep up the work, keep up the pressure. So that must be really bothering these people a lot, because nobody wants to have sunshine shown on them. Okay, take care, everyone. Take care of that dog that's barking off, barking at nothing in my kitchen.